Welcome to Craig and Them. I'm Craig, and this is a show where I invite on people I find interesting and talk to them about things they find interesting.
And if you didn't know who's right, I guess I'm gonna say Craig Mack with perfect time. You won't be around next year. My rap's too severe, kicking mad flavor in your ear. Here comes a brand new flavor in your ear. Time for new flavor in your ear. I'm kicking new flavor in your ear. Like a brand new
Okay, so obviously you like singing, Mr. Elijah. That's really loud. So tell me about your favorite show on Netflix.
Um, it's very silly. It has, and then it has a bunny that has a that stands up and it talks.
He talks. What show is that?
He wears a blue shirt.
Mm-hmm. Does he have a magic wand?
No. Yes.
Yes. So what's the show called?
Harry and Bunny.
Harry and Bunny.
Despite what he himself may believe, Mr. Clark is not East Side High.
Mr. Clark is not only East Side High. Mr. Clark is like a father. He's the only father that some of us who do have fathers know. You don't know a thing about Mr. Clark.
People, just hear me. The school board is meeting right now, and I promise you, we will give you what East Side High deserves, a good principal.
We don't want a good principal. We want Mr. Clark.
You may think you know what you want, but the question is, what is best for you? Best for East Side High.
The old school film I chose to highlight is Lean on Me, released in 1989, starring Morgan Freeman as Joe Clark, former educator and principal of Eastside High in New Jersey. Mr. Clark may have had some unconventional and controversial disciplinary methods during his time as principal. Having not done a lot of research on him, I'm aware that he was both praised and criticized for his tactics. In the film, Mr. Clark carried a baseball bat around. At times, he used a megaphone to talk to the students and staff and put chains on the doors to keep drug dealers from entering the school. From what I have read, he actually did tell that student to jump off the roof and also fired the music teacher. On the other side of that, I thought about how sometimes certain situations may require alternative ways of trying to accomplish something. In the movie, some staff members and students were intimidated by him, and he was basically called a bully, and some people were just angry at him. But then a caring side of him was displayed as well, with the visit to one student's home with the assistant principal and the gesture of encouragement to one female student in the cafeteria scene to pursue being an auto mechanic, and even when he granted Miss Levias her request to transfer. Yes, this was a movie, and many accounts may be fictitious. However, the story made me think about the lasting effect that someone can have on a person or a group of people. I started to think about educators during my time in school, K through 12 and post secondary, who had an impact on me. My public speaking professor, Dr. Freeman, comes to mind. She stressed the importance of articulation and taking special care in how you present yourself to others when you open your mouth to speak. Maybe you had a teacher or a professor who had a quirky style of dress. Perhaps you liked their teaching methodology. Maybe they said or did something that resonated with you and made you think, wow, that was interesting or amazing. Perhaps you know a leader who is charismatic and can seem to handle any situation with grace. A person's words actions, and character can impact us in remarkable ways by challenging us to assess what we stand for. Who are we designed to be? What is our personal brand or mission? And how do we want to impact others?
All right, welcome back to Craig and them. So a big part of what I wanted to do with this podcast was to have on people that I admire and who I just think are awesome, all around awesome people. The person that I have on today I've known for a few years. We've been working together for a few years, and I've always thought she was really awesome. Just the energy that she's always had, the positivity she's always had. Has always just been inspiring to me, and the light that she shines whenever she's walking through the halls of our school has always just really encouraged me and inspired me. So I'm really excited about having her on today, and we're just going to kind of chit chat and talk about the things that she's going through, and hopefully we can all learn something from her today. So welcome, Laura.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on with me. Um, just we You are going through some pretty difficult times right now. Some things that you're having to navigate. Would you want to share a little bit about what's going on with you?
Absolutely. So, I'm in my late 30s. I have two small children, 2 and 5. I have a wonderful husband, a great house, a kitty cat, great job. Things are going really well, all in that area. What you can't tell is that I have no hair. I have like 6 eyelashes. My eyebrows are thin in a little bit.
A little bit.
And I have 1 breast. So, yeah, I have cancer. I've had cancer for 5 years now. I was diagnosed. It's been a long journey. The beginning of that journey was really messy because what I realized is doctors are humans too, and they don't always get it right. And so it took me and them to figure out what was really happening to my body. I've had lots of surgeries, close to 20. We could get really sad, but I don't want to get sad. That's the part that I choose not to do. I definitely feel those emotions. I don't ignore them, but I never allow myself to dwell in them. I think of it as like a door, and I open that door and I walk in and I see it and I feel it and I allow myself to be there, and then I sort of tap myself on the shoulder and say, okay, that's enough, come back out, and then I go back out and then I focus on all the other things that are happening in my life that I'm incredibly happy and grateful and proud, and I'm still here, and a lot of the doctors that I'm working with are actually quite surprised I'm still here. So I don't know, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome, and again, the positivity that you show. I mean, I had an interaction with you earlier today when I was inviting you to come on, and one of our coworkers came up to you and was talking, and she was chit chatting with you about Texas, and you made a joke about, yeah. She's like, oh, I wish I was going to Texas. She's like, yeah, you wish you were going for cancer treatment, and you made a joke out of it. And I thought that was just like, that's so you,
Yeah.
just the energy that you
Yeah.
have and that positivity, and it's like, this is a real thing that you're going through. How have you been able to hold on to the positivity and the light that just kind of emanates from you constantly?
It comes from a lot of things. I think if I focused on one specific area or field or person, I would I guess ask too much of that resource, and then they would burn out. So I kind of hop around. I have a really big village, is what I've realized. I've got obviously lots of neighbors that are willing to help, and my family is very local and they're willing to help on a regular. I also have incredible coworkers, and I have random people that barely know me say things like, can I help you? And I feel like a lot of people have those opportunities in their life, and we tend to just quickly say, no, 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 I'm fine. And what I'm learning is that they're offering to help. I need help. Yes, please, that would be great. And they light up because they're like, what do you need help when? And and then the struggle is, how do you name that help? So that's been something I've been navigating with. So that's a resource. I definitely been going to church a lot more. I've been sort of focusing on just my spirituality and what I believe in and how do I put my worries somewhere else besides the people on this earth, because that's too much pressure. It's not fair, and no one has control. Um, I also read a lot. There's an amazing book called How to Be Sick, and I read it on a regular. I think I've read it 4 times. I just continue to read it, and it's just practices on how to live your life to the fullest, even though your life may be limited. But the thing is we don't know when we're going to be gone. So I feel like anyone could read that book, right? So I don't know, lots of resources. Quiet time, lots of quiet time, lots of allowing myself to just be is really important. It allows my time to slow down, and it slows down everything, and I get to really squeeze every ounce out of every minute. I mean, I have young children, and I just think about like the amount of times I used to say, hold on 1 minute, let me just finish these dishes, or hold on 1 minute, let me just finish dinner. And I think no one on their deathbed says, I wish I did the dishes more. Like, no one says that.
Right.
I bet you a lot of people say, I wish I played with my kids more. So here I am, not on my deathbed, by the way, but it just hits me, and I'm like, why am I prioritizing dishes over my children right now? That's not okay. And I put the dishes down, and I walk over and I play with my children, and they get what they need from me, and I get what they need from them. And then what happens is moments later, I step up and I go do the dishes, and they're satisfied with that moment I just gave them, and so am I, that I actually am able to do the dishes in a much easier, smoother way because I satisfied, the human need first.
So I have to say that's kind of a gut punch. No, because I mean, yeah, you don't think about that.
Yeah.
Like you say, if you don't have to think about it, you don't think about it. And I think about the times that my kids have asked me to play. My kids yesterday were saying, "Hey, Dad, come downstairs and play with us." And I'm like, "I'm tired. I might come down in a few minutes." And I had a friend, and my wife said, the kids asked you to go play with them. Go play with them before you leave.
Mm.
And so I did, and it was like you said, it was a couple minutes, and I didn't really super engage in terms of like the actual game. I chased my little one around with a stuffed Pikachu for a few minutes, and he laughed and giggled and screamed. But like you said, they were satisfied. They
Mhm.
had their few minutes with Daddy, and I was able to go and do my errand, and it didn't interfere with them getting to spend time with me and me spending time with them. And so, yeah, I hope you all are hearing that, because I think that's something that I need needed to hear and need to apply more. Wow, yeah. Um, so you are a chef,
Yes.
yes, and we're gonna keep talking about the other things, but I do want to know, as a chef, what is your favorite thing to cook? Your favorite dish to cook? And what is your guilty pleasure as a chef?
Ooh. So this answer, I actually get this question a lot, and my answer is probably not traditional because it's not actually anything about me. Um, so the part that I love about being a chef is the service piece. So I love people, which actually is very uncommon in a chef. Not that chefs don't like people, but they like the wall between their guests and their kitchen crew because they are a very different breed of human. That they kind of like their little cave, and they have their relationship with their food, and then they send it out, and then they want people to say, "Oh, it's delicious, amazing," and then they come out and they're like, "Okay, you've accepted me in my thing. Now I feel comfortable. Now we can talk." Um, I like the service piece. I like connecting with people. So actually, whatever dish you would love would be the dish I would love to cook. It brings me more joy to cook for a certain person, a certain food, because it's important to them. If I wheeled back a little bit and thought about what I like to cook, it's probably like the food that my kids love or my husband loves. Like I sit down every Sunday with my husband. He's so spoiled, by the way. And I say, "Okay, what do you want to eat this week?" And we literally write out the menu for the week. And he says, "Oh, I'd really like to have chicken cacciatore," or "I'd really like to have some ribs," and I literally write out the grocery list based on the recipe that I know how to make that dish, and that's what we eat every week.
So I'm coming near your house.
Yes.
And we're gonna make a menu.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So yeah, guilty pleasure. I also have very strange eating habits. I love raw potatoes. Weird. I love circus peanuts. So weird. Um,
Why raw potatoes?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. I don't like sweets.
Okay.
I would rather have something salty any day. I love a tomato with like salt and pepper on it, and I eat it like an apple.
It's a fruit.
My
right?
husband definitely looks at me like, "Who are you and what are you eating?" I don't know, man. I can't. I have weird food habits, and it's okay.
Is that part? What inspired you to become a chef? What was it that about cooking, about the service piece that drew you into being a chef in particular?
So yeah, at a young age, my mom was really big about like making sure myself, and my sister had chores at a very young age. Like we had to bring something to the table as a family member. So in the beginning, it was, I mean, I was doing laundry at like 7, like family laundry. And my sister, I don't remember what she was doing, but she was definitely busy with something. And then one time, my mom came to me. She's Italian. She's from a house that cooks with whole food all the time. My dad, on the other hand, was from a family that cooked everything out of a box and out of a kit. And both are fine. It's whatever works for the family, but they definitely had like a yin and yang thing to it. And my mom came to me and said, I really want you to start cooking one meal a week at 8. And she says, it's anything you want. So obviously I started out with like mac and cheese because that's what I wanted to eat. But what I realized is after I cooked all the meals that I thought were good, and people would say, my parents would say, oh, it's really good, good job, and encouraged me, I started opening up like food magazines and finding a recipe that looked good, and then I would try it. And my favorite story is I was 12, and I wanted to cook for my parents and their friends like a meal. So my dad invited like 10 people from his office over for like a winter, Christmas, holiday menu. And me, as a very new cooker, didn't know the ins and outs of a large party and like how hard that would be. And I had like this extravagant like 6-choice menu. And what I realized is a one-man show, it's very hard to pull something like that off. So like I had used like every dish in the house, and I realized I needed more ovens. And I mean, it was like coq au vin, so it was like chicken cooked with red wine. It was like shrimp scampi with like fresh pasta. It was like serious stuff that I had been learning as a young child for my 4-person family. But here I am cooking for multiple people with multiple menus. Everyone got their meal eventually. I wouldn't promise it was hot, but that was a huge learning curve. That's when I was like, okay, I still want to do this. I still want to get better at this. And yeah, I think by the age of 14, I wanted to start working. I got paid under the table at a restaurant, and I've been working in restaurants my whole life. It's always been something I liked. It's the people, it's the food, it's the service. It's my thing.
That's really cool. I like cooking. I dabble in the kitchen. I don't do anything near what you do. I probably should try to do some more recipes.
Take the sugar away. I hate that.
I'm sorry. I would like to
Yes.
be more active in terms of looking at recipes. We kind of stick to tried and true, but it's just easy because the kids like it. So you want to cook what your kids like. Do you find cooking to be a mindful practice for you, or is it still a job, or how do you feel it to be?
No, I mean, I cook with these students here at the school Monday through Friday, and then I go home and I cook food for my family Monday through Friday, maybe even Saturday too. I'd say one day a week I don't cook. Cooking is important to me. I used to live in an apartment with my husband, and we didn't have a dining room table and a dining room. We just had like a living room and a table in there, coffee table kind of a thing, a really beautiful kitchen, but no family spot to eat. And it bothered me a lot. I didn't realize how much it bothered me until we bought a house. And when we were able to sit down at a dining room table with our 9-month-old at the time and have our first family meal around the table is when I was like, yep, this is what's important to me. So I love cooking for my family. It's my favorite part. I love cooking for people that are important to me. We have people over once a week because we like to entertain. We like food. We like people. It's not a chore.
And I know I owe you a visit.
Yes.
You invited me over, and we've been going through some things. If you listen to the first podcast, we talked a lot about my son and his ADHD and how those things have kind of been weighing a lot on us over the last 6 months or so. So we're trying to figure those things out. Speaking of kids and young kids, you said you started cooking at 8. Do you have your daughter's 5? Your oldest, is she in the kitchen with you
Yes.
at all?
Yes.
As a chef, how do you introduce cooking and kitchen safety and these things to young ones? Because I think my kids are super interested in doing it, and I'm always shooing them away because I'm like, you're gonna cut yourself, you're gonna do something, you're gonna burn yourself. So, how do you navigate having that little person in the kitchen? How do you make it fun for them? What do you do?
It's like everything. You can't live in fear, right? Knowledge is power.
Right.
So you start off slow. So she's 5, and people think, oh, she's 5. Except that she can cook spaghetti and meatballs almost by herself. The only things she can't do is lift the pot of hot water and lift the pot of hot sauce. Those are the 2 things I don't allow her to do, just because of safety reasons. But everything else she does. So in the beginning, what I used to do is I used to just ask her to wash all the vegetables. So it just acclimated her into the kitchen. It made her feel like she had a purpose. She was being helpful to me. I gave that same pepper to her 10 times. I would rather her stay in that kitchen and continue to be with me while I cooked than to say, oh, that's it, you can go now. If she was still interested, I literally just emptied the fridge of produce and was like, oh, can you clean this too? Oh, can you? And I would put it back. But like, the point is not the food, right? It's her. It's investing in her. So it got her into wanting to cook. And so now she goes around and asks everybody, how many meatballs do you want? And she'd put them in the pot, and I would open the can of sauce. I mean, obviously we're not making fresh pasta here with a 5-year-old, but she is cooking dinner as a 5-year-old. So she would open up that jar and she can empty it into the saucepan. She can put it on the stove. She knows that it's hot. She knows she has to be arm's length away from the pot until she can see that it bubbles, and then she says, Mommy, it's ready, and then I lift it. I mean, I don't tell her it's ready. She tells me it's ready. So yeah, you just explain to her. You say you need to make sure you're not touching the pot. It's very hot, and you could even take her hand and hover it over the pot so she could feel the heat and know that that's why you don't touch it. So she can just understand that. Be careful. When she cuts, I give her a butter knife, and obviously I give her any food that can be cut with a butter knife. I wouldn't set her up for an impossible thing and give her, I don't know, what couldn't be cut with a butter knife? A pineapple. Like, I wouldn't do that. That's not fair, right? But yeah, she makes guacamole.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So she's into it.
All right, so so you're again another gut punch. I have to, I have to play with my children and not, get so involved in the things that I'm doing.
This is not what this podcast is about.
This is Chef Brown. This is Laura telling me all the things that I do wrong as a parent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You mentioned that you've had cancer for 5 years, and that your youngest is 2.
Yes.
Which means that you had him while you
Yes.
had cancer. Talk about what that was like, finding that out, the experience of all of that went into that.
So now I'm going to get emotional, and I might cry a little bit. So I was told that I couldn't have kids, and it was hard. So my husband and I said, let's, we heard the news. We knew that that's probably going to be a thing, but we decided to just see what happened. We didn't do any fancy planning, or we just kind of put our heads in the air and just said, okay, let's see what happens. And I'm not kidding you, 2 months after we said that out loud, we got pregnant with our first Abigail. And, if you do the math, she's 5, and I've been battling cancer for 5 years. So she actually was born, and within months of her being born, I was diagnosed. So she knows her mom only as this battling woman, this fighting woman, which we could talk about for hours. But so I actually was diagnosed while she was born, within a few days and weeks. My cancer has been reoccurring pretty regularly. I ended up having a mastectomy at one point, like 3 years into my fighting. And that was my lowest. When I had that mastectomy, I thought, okay, that's it, right? Like, they literally cut everything they could out. We're done. And that was my naive piece, is I didn't realize the maintenance that it is to stay healthy, even after cancer. Even if I didn't get the reoccurrences, even after that, there's a lot involved to keeping the cancer away. That if you know anyone that's ever had cancer, it doesn't go away. It doesn't ever leave their life. And so I was falling pretty deep in depression quickly, within weeks. I had my mastectomy in December, and every day after that surgery, I was falling hard and fast. And I was actually extremely scared because I wasn't sure where I was going to go. And 3 weeks after surgery, you have to get your drains out. It's like where your body is like collecting blood from all the surgery and stuff. So I got those taken out, and I must have felt like $1 million because, I invited my husband into the bedroom and so forth. And we got pregnant again. And that little boy, Oliver, is 2, and he was the reason I got out of that depression within minutes. As soon as I realized I was pregnant, it was like, okay, get your stuff together. Like, you got a second miracle again. Take care of yourself, take care of this baby. And so he absolutely saved my life. And he's 2 now. And yes, I still have cancer. But the thing is I could list all of these things. I've had 20 surgeries. I have a very rare cancer that no one's ever really understood. I am on all sorts of clinical trials. My body mass is all over different parts of the world for labs for them to understand. Like, I am a unicorn in that way, and I could easily talk about my appeal of sitting on the couch and doing nothing. But instead, I've had 2 miracle children. I have an amazing job. I have a village as big as I don't even know how to explain it. That, yeah. I don't even remember the first question you asked me, but that 2-year-old is special to me. He's real special to me.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I am so grateful for you to have shared your story with me. Even if nobody else listens, I'm just glad that you sat down with me and talked to me. For years, again, we've passed each other in passing. We'll chat here and there, but it's always just kind of chit chat about the kids or about what's going on, how are your kids doing, how are my kids doing, those things like that. But I really wanted to hear your story and really wanted to just kind of share your light for a moment because it always warms me whenever I'm around you, and I really appreciate it. It's fantastic. You have to come back on. Next time we'll just talk. We'll just talk cooking, maybe.
Yeah.
And
We'll talk about a kid-friendly menu.
That would be awesome. You offered, and I never actually took you up on it, but thankfully he's kind of sort of grown out of it.
Yeah,
my youngest has a ton of allergies to like every food on the planet. Nothing super severe. It's all like eczema type stuff, but he seems to have grown out of a lot of it.
I'm happy for you.
So we're working through it. So, but thank you for coming on. Any last thoughts? Anything that you just wanted to share that is just weighing on you?
I guess for me, I'm grateful that I'm still here, and I've been really focusing on my legacy. And your legacy you could work on forever, right? Like, I could be here in 50 years, I might not be. So the thing that I've been cherishing a lot lately is journal entries. And I changed it lately. I used to write in a book, and it would be, Dear Journal. And just in the past few months, I've changed it to a letter form to my children and to my husband. And it's individual letters. I just sit down and write a paragraph or 2. I date it. I put it in an envelope. I seal it up. I put the date on the outside and whoever I'm writing it to. And there's nothing profound in there. It's like, this is what we did for the day. And I just think about, like, wouldn't it be cool to read that letter about your 5-year-old birthday party, exactly detail for detail what you did and what you wore and how much people lost their heads over a real live unicorn that showed up. So I just challenge you to think about your legacy and how are people going to know who you are when you're not here, and the power of trying to figure out how to learn who you are through you. I like the idea that my kids can get a lot of answers from my own writings than just asking other people. So think about that.
Well, thank you.
Abby, can you tell me what you're doing?
I'm cooking dinner for my mama.
Oh, what are you making? What's in the pot? Oh, and what are you doing with the spoon? Show me. Explain to me what you're doing.
I'm picking up the spoon and waiting for the water to rub it in and putting it in this bowl.
Awesome, show me. All right, so there's water in it, and then what? Oh, you wait? And then what happens when it stops? Oh.